Welcome to the Marketing Millennials, the No BS Marketing Podcast. I'm Daniel Murray, and join me for unfiltered conversations with the brains behind marketing's coolest companies. The one request I tell our guests, stories or it didn't happen. Get ready to turn the up.
We are back with another episode of the Marketing Millennials podcast. I have Jenny on the podcast. She's the director of social media strategy at MIT. Yes, the MIT. And excited to chat. We're going to talk all things organic social. MIT has one of the biggest followings out there when it comes to in the education space. So I'm excited to talk about how they grew, what they're doing right now, what's the strategy, and we'll dig in. But Jenny, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Danielle. It's great to be here.
Could you get a little background, like how did you get into marketing? How did you get into social media specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of social media managers, I just kind of like accidentally found myself in social. I think, I started as a TV journalist, so TV reporter. So like a lot of social media managers, I have a journalism degree, and for various reasons left the business. But I think I still loved storytelling and got into editorial and digital editorial and content strategy. And right around that time in the early 2000s, when people got into the digital space, that's when like social media was really coming to rise. And I think in those positions, those folks also took on like the social media channels early on. But the thing is, I think, the responsibilities of managing social media grew. And so, yeah, like somehow, like I said, if I can do that full time with 100% of my job, I think I would want to do that. And, sure enough, this position opened way back when. And yeah, 10 years later, here I am.
10 years in social media is like, feels like a lifetime in social media.
Yeah,
You've seen so much
10
change.
here. Yeah, it's just 10 years here. Overall, I think, if I want to like age myself, like I've been doing it for like more than 20 years. Can you believe that?
That's amazing though, because you've seen the changes of all platforms, everything. But I want to talk about MIT. So MIT, you've grown, the following has grown to millions across X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and almost all of it came organic. So how did that happen? And when did you realize it was working at this scale?
I think, so, really at its base level, like we just leaned into what our community wanted to see on our social media channels, right? And I always say an engagement or a like or a share is like a vote. It's like instant feedback saying, I like this content. I want to see more of this content. And so like as we got more engagement, we would really hone in on like what was it about this post that got so much attention or so many likes, and we just try to do more of it, right? Like it's lean into what your community wants, and sure enough, like it's I always say organic social media is a marathon, right? It's not a fast process. Growing community takes time. Building relationships take time. Like Danielle, can you and all of the the strong relationships or friendships you have, they've probably like grown over time, right? Like, and it's the same thing and social media. So, and that just started to resonate, and soon we just saw more people who kind of leaned in and said, yeah, I like what they're doing. I want to be a part of this community. And yeah, now we have like more than like 7 million right now total followers on all of our active channels.
That's amazing, especially in like the space you're in, which is very competitive. There's so
Higher
many
ed. Yeah.
schools. Yeah. It's a hard market also to figure out the balance between what people want, what people need. There's so many stakeholders that you're talking to. It's not only like students, there's faculty, there's like prospective students, there's alumni, there's such a big
Yeah, and
wide
and
range.
it's global. Like our audience is global. Like it's a little bit different, I guess, from a lot like we've got lots of department labs and centers. So alumni has their channels and they strictly serve alumni, right? And then the Division of Student Life or student admits, they have their own channels. And so like they have very specific audiences, but like you said, like I have a global audience. I serve all those audiences. And so I always say that MIT's branding always feels a little bit like a B to B2C rather than just like prospective students or just higher ed because it's such a global brand. And um, so yeah, like I always try to keep in mind that they're into all of the things that go on at MIT. So that's what we try to share.
So I have a question too, because I know like that number 7 million, and people mistake that normally for community when they think of like social media following. A lot of people think following equals community, but as you know, like some could be bots, some could be
Oh, yeah, for sure.
haters, some could be people just trying to get scoop on the next media story.
Totally. Yeah.
So how do you find like the real community that's lying inside that like 7 million number?
I know that they're there because I do look at the comments. I do click to see who they are. I do read like who said this, and then I go to see on their profile like, oh, it's this, So I know that there actually are real people engaging with us, and especially like there are certain things where we know it's alumni, they're commenting and they'll say, oh, I remember when my memories in the student center. So like just to see that there's that sort of engagement going on, you get a sense that your people are there, right? Are all 7 million followers across all of these channels like people? No. I mean, do they all, like you said, do they all like us? Like, no, but they're interested in us. Like, like just like every community, you have your lurkers, you have your very chatty, engaged folk, you have the people that are cynics, but that makes up your entire community, right? And like us or hate us, they're interested in us. So, which is something that I think every community has, right? And yeah, and just to see that engagement, and I do check to see. So there are a lot of real people there.
I want to go into. I know you wrote a book on social media, and
Yeah.
I want to go into. I know you have 6 M's in that book.
Yes.
We can go down the 6 M's, but I want to know which one do you think brands skip first in your 6 M framework?
Okay. So there's mission, messaging, management, metrics, monitoring, and medium. Which one do I think that they skip the most? Sometimes I think they skip all of them, Daniel, and just go right to posting. But like I think the critical one maybe now might be like medium. And what I mean by medium is it's medium is like the singular of media, right? So by medium, I mean which platform. And I feel like everyone thinks that they need to be on every platform, right? And they're just sharing the same content on every platform. And I often tell people, if you're sharing the same thing the same way on every platform, you're not doing it right. You're doing it wrong, right? So I think rather than being all of the spaces, where is your audience? Like be in one place and do it above, like do it exceptionally, like, be in one platform and make sure that you are kicking ass in that platform. And that will allow you to cut the noise. So I think sometimes that, select the right medium piece, I think maybe gets skipped a lot.
I mean, I agree. I also think that like this pressure from above, like, why aren't you on Facebook? Why aren't you on this?
Totally.
Why aren't you that? And then, and that leads like, people forget that a lot of social media teams, one person, and they can't, if they're
Right.
going to do and it takes like one person to do one channel really great. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
if you're doing it 100% and going hard on that channel, it takes one person, because there's, like you said, there's all those M's you were talking about. You need to have, and you have to tailor it for that platform, and different types of audiences that you have are on that platform, and they expect certain type of content on that platform. So it's
Totally.
way different than each platform. I do think you could take posts, remix them format wise to, if it worked on another platform, but that's still a lot of work to like change it, reformat it, resize it, put it on another platform in the way that platform wants it. So I think I totally understand like the pressure from above, but also like if you're going to win, you have to be dominating one platform first, then go the other, then get another one.
Yeah. And I think that's right. Like, I think dominating is the right where, like, you have to be so good at it, like mediocrity online is not going to get you anywhere. Right. So, and a lot of these things I mentioned, everything you just kind of said, and that I do address and mention in my book, which is Organic Social Media: How to Build Flourishing Communities Online. And I give like practical like guidance on how to have these conversations with leadership when they're giving you pressure to open like whatever the new shiny platform is, to kind of lead with data and be realistic. And one thing that I learned after several years into this career is like, you're constantly educating. Like you're educating people on like, what the platforms do. You're educating people on how they act. Like you're educating people on what type of content is appropriate, for each platform. And the thing is, it's like, I think a lot of people in decision-making positions are non-digital natives. And they're the ones making decisions, and they're the ones we're reporting to. So you can't say like, you can't put a PDF in, Instagram, stupid. Like you can't address it like that. You need to have like some couth and, but also you do need to do constant education. So that's part of the job. And I do kind of give advice and some guidance about that in my book.
I love that. I mean, I love that you said, I mean, it all stems, you're educating, you work for an education brand, that you need to educate people about what you're doing, and you need to educate your audience on what they are doing. So it's all and half the marketer's job is, or like social's job is dealing with that internal education and
Totally.
mess behind the scenes. If you didn't have if you didn't have to deal with that mess, the job would be, you would have way more time to do a lot of other things, but that mess is what holds up a lot of processes that happen.
My gosh. Yeah. The cognitive load that it takes to constantly be defining things, as I say, talk about it. I'm like, a reel, that's a vertical video on Instagram, prefers this kind of length, and, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I also think, I mean, going through the M's that you just said, and I think what a lot of people forget, there's like, social media is kind of split into two things, where it's the social part, which is the community, the monitoring, that part, and then the media, which is like the posting, the content creation, and stuff like that. You said at the beginning of this podcast, I mean, when I asked you about the community, you were talking about you read all these comments and stuff like that. Like, what is the split that social media people should have with like the social and media part, and how much time should you dedicate to like the responding to comments, the monitoring trends, monitoring what community is saying? What's your split look like?
That's an interesting question, and it's interesting because that, like, I think what you're talking about is sort of also the management piece. Like I always say, the management is where you separate the amateurs from the professionals, because like the management is the boring part, non-sexy part of it, where you have to like have processes and you have to have like, have things written down and have like a content calendar and content database. And, that's sort of like the, again, the non-sexy part of like social media. But I think it changes, right? Like, okay, ideally you should be like doing all of that stuff a little bit every day, right? I'm always like making sure the content goes back to the mission, is centered on the messaging. I choose the right platforms, the right medium, because not every piece of content, like you said earlier, is right for all of our platforms, right? I always I'm using our management systems to make sure everything is like, flows naturally, is repeatable, and we don't make any, if you're using a system, then the chances that you're going to make mistakes lessen, right? So, and then, you're focused on the metrics. I look at the metrics like every day. I look at like how our posts are doing every day, like campaigns are doing every day. Like I look at the metrics every day, and then like the monitoring, like the looking to see what the comments are, looking to see who's sharing, looking to see who's saying what on which posts, and and who they're talking to, right? And so I think it's really important to make time to just like embed everything, like just make it natural for you to like have time to do a little bit of that every day. Now, having said that, if there's like a crisis that we're under, everything gets flipped off the table, and it's like monitoring all day, right? And then things kind of fall to the wayside. Or if we're like going to kick off something new, then it's like mostly creation, and then that might take more of my day. But so I think it sort of shifts depending on where the focus is. But ideally, I think I should have time baked into my day to do every step of the process.
I also wanted to ask you, I know you've described like algorithms as like a set of like mathematical set of rules to rank content. But those rules are ever changing, and they change all the time.
Totally.
And each platform,
all the time.
And each platform, those rules are changing. So when you're planning content, how are you like taking into account those rules as they're changing week by week?
Yeah. So Daniel, I don't. I just focus on what we're doing. So this is what I believe about algorithms. It's like you said, they are mathematical equations to get to know your behavior, right? So like algorithms are there to understand what I like, how often I post, what I'm looking for, who my audience is. So like the algorithms try to get to learn, get to know you, right? But if I'm constantly changing what I do because of what I think the algorithm is doing, and trust me, I have no idea what the algorithm is doing. So if I'm constantly changing, then the algorithm doesn't get to really know my habits. Does that, do you know what I mean?
No,
and so,
I wanted to hear an answer like this versus like, oh yeah, when an algorithm changes, I change my whole content strategy.
Oh no, I have no, yeah. I stay the course, because I'm like, I think it's changing because something is acting quirky, like my numbers are inconsistent with where they've been. So I kind of get a sense that there's a change, but I just stay the course and do the same thing and let the algorithm get to know me and our habits and our content and our audience. And, and so, and after a long while, if I'm just like, our numbers actually aren't coming back to where they were, I might alter the strategy. But Daniel, it takes me a long time to convince me that I'm going to change anything because of an algorithm.
Well, I think a lot of them going into the strategy part. I think the first two M's of like the message and the mission, like most of it is like having that be very solid and everything going back to those two things. And if things if those metrics end up changing, it's not like you're changing your whole strategy, you're just changing how the algorithm wants the posts to be set. But it's not like the mission or the message is changing. It's just maybe a little bit of a tweak in format or maybe no tweak in other things, but it's not, you're totally doing different. The pillars are still going to be the same with what type of content you're going to post.
I was just going to say, Daniel, like preach, because like that's why I was like mission and message are so important because that's your North Star, right? And if you have no North Star, then like I always like to say like your mission is like your guardrails, and if you don't have guardrails, you're just going to go off the rails, So yeah, I totally agree. Like if you know what your mission is, you're going to stay the course. And maybe if you things that are changing or your numbers are off a little bit, you might try a new tactic or you might tweak a tactic, right? But the strategy should stay the course. Only when the mission changes, maybe you might consider changing the strategy. So I agree 100%.
I'm interested. Just because MIT is such a unique, you said it's international, but there's so many departments, there's so many different things that MIT does with research and labs and all this stuff. Like, how did you refine the voice and refine the message to get close enough to get talk for MIT? Because MIT is so broad and so diverse and so international.
I guess the easy answer is because MIT has been here for so long, it has a voice, right? I didn't create it. I just had to learn it. And I had to adapt it for social. So just as you and I having a conversation on this podcast, we have a different, we use marketing and social media language, and there's a way we're having this conversation. But if you talk to your family or your grandmother, you would probably have a totally different tone and voice, but it's still you, right? And so I just had to learn it and adapt it for social media. But I will say too that just like any other school, we have more than 300 department labs and centers, and they all have their own social media presence. And I don't poo-poo that, because the brain and cognitive science department is going to be different than the mechanical engineering department. They have different goals and different audiences, right? And they can get really, really niche. But at the institute level, it is important for us to just talk about and value research and science and engineering at a broad scale. So it all helps, and I think there's value in all of that.
I also want you to just break down a little bit in social media, what is the difference between the management strategy? What is when you got up to social media strategy, you were in management. What is the difference between those two roles, and what is the day-to-day of someone who's strategizing versus someone who's just managing those channels look like?
I love that question so much. So when you're thinking about the strategy, you're thinking about the communication strategy, because I'm part of the Institute Office of Communications, right? Or, even if you're social media manager, whatever brand or organization is from, like that organization has goals. And it's as the strategist, the social media strategist, it's your job to take those organizational goals and see how you can support them using the social media channels. So you're thinking more broadly and how do you adapt the overall goals, and how do you support them using social media? So it's like, you decide on the mediums, or like the platforms and what would work best, and you decide on what type of content that you think would help to support those goals. So you're thinking in terms of long term, like wide strategy. It's more of a macro view, right? And once you have sort of an idea of like what you want, the stories you want to tell, and how you want to tell it, like the formats you want to use, and the channels you want to put them out on, it's the manager's job to execute on the strategy. So if you're like, I really think that these types of stories would do well on this channel and that will like support this goal, the manager will and then hopefully you have a content creation team, but they'll create the content and the manager will like optimize the content and actually post it on the channels. And then as a strategist, you're looking at the data, right? And all that stuff. But yeah.
I also want you to going even like deeper into this, like, and you've said you've done this for 20 years, but for years, like social media social media has got this rap of afterthought, of like, why are we doing this? Like, it's always the most challenged department ever. I'm not saying it's everywhere that is.
No,
the case,
it's really common. Yeah.
If you were designing an org chart for marketing, where would like social media sit in that org chart, and what level should like that first hire be of social media if you were like dreaming your dream marketing org?
You're right. There's so many different models out there of where like social sits. I really kind of feel at this point that it should be its own entity, but work very collaboratively with like marketing and the other departments that are out there, right? Because it's such a big, I mean, this is $1 billion industry at this point. And there's the organic side, and then there's the paid side of social too, right? Which is its own thing. I've said this a lot, is that if I had a dream team, it would be, I mean, you need content creators. That's the first thing, but you can't just do one. Like, so a dream team would be a director, a manager, and then a team of content creators, but they would be specialists, right? So we would have a vertical video specialist. We would have a live stream specialist. We would have maybe a photography special, like that. So it's like they do the content, but they very special. Like it would be sort of platform agnostic. Like it's not like there's an Instagram specialist or a LinkedIn specialist, but the photography specialist would know how to format things for each platform. The vertical video specialist would know that there's differences between TikTok and like Reels, right? But they would create the vertical videos. There would be like a copywriter. These are all, there'd be graphic designer. I mean, these are all full-time jobs that like a social media manager does. They create graphics, they create videos, they create captions. And in order to have this beautiful social media team, I would have like professionals doing each of those.
I like that, because I think like some people would say I would have a LinkedIn expert, a TikTok expert, but again, it goes to your problem of like the LinkedIn expert still needs someone to help with carousels and short form video, and that like the TikTok specialist still gonna need someone to help. Like if they're good at it, they might know how to do the platform, but doesn't mean like they're the best short form video person out there. And it's better to hire someone who's like understands like what's a good hook and what, like, how do I know how to do pacing of a video, and how, like, does it have like a rehook? Does it have, is there a good story arc in there? And I think someone might on one platform know that, but I think short form video is not that much different between, and that's where the strategy comes in. Like, you would come in and be like, you would say, hey, on TikTok is more, let's say, trend-based type content, and Instagram is more storytelling from a teacher's perspective. Like, we need these two videos, but they are different. You come up, you figure out how to create do that, and yeah, exactly.
So like the creators would create it, and then the managers would actually take the content and post it in the way that it's optimized for each channel, right? Mm-hmm. And the strategist thinks about how all of the moving pieces are supporting the mission and the goal and complementing each other. So
yeah, I really like that structure versus, because I even like find, like, I know LinkedIn really well, but still, like, I have so many bottlenecks because I'm not the best video person out there. So I have to like stay in my lane and just do text and images because I'm good at that. And if I knew if I had someone who's a video expert, I probably could go 2-3x what I would do on LinkedIn, but I don't have that. So it's like a bottleneck for that channel that could be growing like 2x.
Totally.
3x, 4x.
Exponentially. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I like that structure. I think that's because the platforms change so much that, like,
oh my gosh, yeah,
like it's hard to be like just have one, and then you might need a new platform coming. Like, then a new platform comes up, and you know, you need to be there. And but if you have like a good copywriter, a good short form, you could easily adapt to that channel versus not adapt.
Totally.
Going back into what we said before, you said it, social media own department. So you're like, if you were thinking the first hire, you would, if to give it a good stake, it needs to be someone who has like leadership level, or like someone who could be at the same balance as these people. Because if you hire a social media manager, what, they're going to just go on to the head of brand or the head of yeah, you need
you're
someone,
totally
because if you start low, they're just going to get inside the org, stuck in this department,
and then just swallowed, right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. I think it has to be like director level, or if there's like, you know, if there's a CMO, maybe there's an AVP, you know, of social, or, you know, and then they build from there. I think that's right.
I also think that social has become, I think people understand that social has become a channel that is needed for most, like executed on for most businesses, but it's still, and I don't think people get like the gravity that, like, you're holding 7 million people, and like one wrong post could go like south very fast. So in the strategist's view, like, what are you thinking of, like, what does that layers look like of, I'm posting something that I know needs to work on the algorithm, because this is my, like, not forget the algorithm, but I know this works for my audience on that channel. But I also have to deal with, like, is it brand approved? Is it like MIT approved? Is it like legal approved? Is it this approved? Like, what does that look like internally?
Well, at MIT, the cool thing is, like, for most of the things that we create, like, I do it, it's like on my authority. Like, I am the approver. If it's something that is at a higher institute level, then yes, like, I have to get my supervisor, and my skip is actually the vice president, but that's only in certain, you know, in very certain exceptions, right? But yeah, do I worry about, like, posts not hitting the right way, or if we want to put something out there and it may be a little bit controversial, do I Yeah. So part of my job is like just to make sure things age well, you know? And so like if there's like a content, like a topic that I'm worried about, I'm constantly punching holes in it from every different direction. Like, how could this be trolled is really like, how, like when you, I don't know, like a lot of parents, when they think of a kid's name, you're like, okay, like, Penny, like, how can Penny be made fun of? Like what, or like
Oh,
what
I thought
do,
about that so many
yeah,
times when they
so
made it.
like you think, okay, how, like, what's a name that like my kid will be not bullied for? You think about that, right? So I like think about content, like what are all the ways this content can get trolled? I mean, I totally think about that. And so like I feel like by doing that, it helps me to maybe avoid it. And also I bring in the right people to consult, if it's like if it's a topic about like a certain culture that I'm not familiar with, I make sure I ask the person in that culture, am I presenting this right? Can you foresee anything that we might be, get criticism for? Like I'm just always looking at all the angles.
No, I
Always.
think that's respectable. Like I think the kid analogy is really funny because I do think like you think about, okay, could they get teased like this? Is their initials? Would they get teased because their initials? Is their middle name like this? Could they be teased?
Totally.
And like that's content's like it's so like that. It's like, oh, if I use this word, is someone going to come after me, or is the risk low on this? Is it high if I say this? If I do this picture with these people in it, is that the risk high or low? It's like a constant battle of like risk analysis and posting.
Totally.
And so there's always going to be haters, so like we've talked about. So, but it's talking about like. There's the haters and there's like getting canceled, and the haters is fine. The getting canceled is the other side of it.
Right.
So, I also want to ask you, like, what do you think is the most overrated tactic in social right now?
When people it's not chaotic. I'm like totally, like Wendy's. Like what, and they are very, what is the word? I'm forgetting the word, but when they're very spicy, when they're, like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I know
right?
exactly
like,
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't have the word either.
Yeah, it's not exactly chaotic, but they are, they like to bite back at people, they like to like kind of like clap back at people and kind of being controversial, to be edgy. I don't know.
I think the word is pretty much edgy. I think it's like...
Is it?
Like
or
edgy.
Chaotic? Or
chaotic and edgy are the two. Like they're chaotic and edgy at the same time, which is but that works for Wendy, but not everybody's Wendy. So like,
but also I could do without it. Like I feel
it's not needed, but
right.
Wendy's developed that in their persona. Good for Wendy's, but like it's such a hit or miss strategy that like if you execute it, you have to like you'll always be known as the chaotic, edgy brand.
Also,
and you can't escape that. You can't escape it once you've done that. So
but I also think it's like overrated. You know what I mean? Like I think that like there's a lot better and more effective strategy than being controversial.
I agree. Lastly, like, what is a marketing hill you would die on? That's a question I ask everybody in this podcast.
Oh my gosh. I guess I would still say that nothing will ever be word of mouth recommendations. And that's sort of like organic commenting, but like organic referrals. Like you'll ask, do you know of a good dentist, or do you know of a good dog walker? Like you're going to take, the word of like your friend or your relative over like anything I'm delivered in a banner ad, So I don't know. I just still, I think that's still king. So maybe that's
No, I think,
is that fair?
Does
that even count?
It is fair. It is fair because I think, especially in social, like if you nail like mission, you nail message, you nail like consistency, people are gonna come and say, like, have a feeling for you that you're gonna like say, okay, when I follow MIT, you should follow them too, because I either got like educational content from them or I got something from them that made my day or something. And that's like, if you're doing stuff like that, that's how you when people forget trends, because trends get blended in with other trends, and that's the problem. Like, people remember that you, maybe not everything, but maybe like you've given multiple pieces of educational content. And maybe they can't do the content, but they know that you've educated them in some way, or made them smile in some way, or made them do something, and they're recommending you because of those things, and they share things because you do those. I think that will always, that's why I always optimize like content for shareability, or like for people to do that, because nothing beats someone like sharing it to their story, or sharing it in the DMs, or screenshotting it in their,
totally.
Like, nothing beats that when growing your social, because then the next follower is actually like another raving fan follower, versus
totally.
like an algorithm follower is way less valuable than a shared DM follower.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lastly, where could people find your book, find you, find what you're doing, and all that stuff?
Yeah, like I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on X, and I'm on Instagram. Mostly, like you'll find me as Jenny Lee Fowler, like JENNYLI Fowler FOWLER. If you Google that, you'll find me. My book is in and anywhere books are sold, like, so Amazon, I feel like primarily where a lot of people go, but you can find it where books are sold. So,
well, if you want to know the strategy behind having a 7 million follower brand, and how to deal with so many different stakeholders and still keep thriving, then go get Jenny's book, because like that's the way you do it. So thank you so much for coming on this pod, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. Keep tuning in to hear more great insights from the coolest marketers from around the world. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow the Marketing Millennials podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, I would greatly appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating. It helps bring more marketers into our community.